Hey, everybody, and welcome back to For the Booze.
For the booze.
For
Boo.
the booze.
Back again for the second part of our second two-parter. Doesn't sound right. But yes, we are back for the second part.
We are.
Actually, I'm going to let it go now. This is not going to be a two-parter. This is going to be more than that. But we are going to break it down because we're not the Fairmont Hotel podcast.
Right.
This is where we're going to start.
Okay.
And maybe sometime, say after Halloween, we'll revisit.
Love it.
There are more Fairmonts around the world.
Love it. Love it.
So, before we get into today's episode, our friend Rick at Maximum Oddities sent me a link to a Twitter post from Amy Bruni of Kindred Spirits, where an EVP, we're going to call it an EVP because technically that's what it is. It's just some kind of electronic voice phenomena of some kind, was heard during the broadcasting of Queen Elizabeth's funeral. Now,
Rest in peace to the Queen.
Now, when I heard this, it's almost too good to be true. Mm-hmm. But when you hear it, you'll think the same, but you'll also think, but why would somebody be saying this?
Right.
So
it's a very strange thing to have said.
Very
On
strange.
air.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and play. I'll play it twice. Maybe
Okay.
Play it a couple times to see what people hear. But here we go.
That death is irreversible, and the fact that she's
As you can see, as you can see here in London, it is a lovely day, and as the hearse heads out into West London.
So yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to play it again. I wouldn't even begin to understand the context behind if this is some kind of bleed through from something else or interference. Why they would be saying this. It's very it's
so strange.
It blows my mind, but let's play it one more time for the people in the back.
that death is irreversible, and the fact that she's
As you can see, as you can see here in London.
So,
it is a lovely day.
yeah, I don't know what to think of that. I think it's incredibly strange.
It is. I mean, I know sometimes, like, on the news, I don't know news in London, but
Are you a Londoner news girl?
I don't see, first of all, what did you hear?
I always seem to have a hard time wrapping my head around it, but it's talking about death is irreversible, and then I can't really make out what they say after that.
I think it's like the way she's something.
Yeah, there's something that comes after that, and I can't understand what it is every time I listen. And I've listened to this probably 3 dozen times.
But when would you ever hear someone say something like that on the news?
I don't know, but somebody else pointed out to me that the voice almost sounds like a very young Queen Elizabeth.
Oh.
So I'm just throwing it out there, you guys. This is on Twitter. Go check out Amy Bruni from Kindred Spirits Twitter page. She made a post about it. And if anybody knows what this is, hit us up, tweet at us.
So crazy.
Instagram us, the Facebook us, do the things at us.
All the things.
And let us know because, man, that's weird.
Super weird.
But we're going to move on with today's show. Unfortunately, no spooky stories.
Boo.
I guess the listeners don't want to tell us stories, but we'll make it. I'm going to have to dig into Reddit eventually. Big bummer.
Oh, man.
So, listeners, if you're out there and you don't want to hear just Reddit stories, hit us up. Let us know. Anything. But we're going to continue on with part 2, and I think it's very appropriate that we're doing Canada in honor of the Queen because, that's also the Queen's End. So
Absolutely.
we are staying in Canada. And where are we going today?
We are going to the Banff Fairmont Hotel.
Yes, the Banff Fairmont Hotel. This is a very old hotel.
It is.
This is actually quite a bit older than the Hotel McDonald. This is also probably the most popular Fairmont place.
Like for spooky things?
Yes.
Oh.
And not just spooky things, honestly. It's a very high society kind of place. So it's well known for that too. So I think without further ado, we'll just get right into this.
Let's go.
I'd like to give a shout out today to historichotels.com, the great and powerful wikipedia.com, luxurytravelcanada.ca, and hauntedrooms.com. Surrounded by pristine wilderness, snow-capped mountains, and magical lakes, the Banff Springs is truly one of Canada's most majestic hotels. As well as world-class surroundings, the hotel also offers world-class service and amenities. Its 768 guest rooms are all superbly appointed, with cozy rooms tucked away in the quiet corners of the castle to the open suites overlooking Alberta's mountaintops. The Banff Springs offers a vast array of outdoor activities, including downhill skiing, cross-country skiing, dog sledding, snowshoeing, skating, a 27-hole championship golf course, hiking, fishing, river rafting, horseback riding, and lots of other activities. If you want to relax after a long day, there is the Willow Stream Spa, located in the center of Banff Springs. It caters to families with a wide choice of activities for children, as well as kids club, menus, and babysitting. There are many places to choose from to enjoy a sit-down dinner or to grab something quick. There are also many cuisine choices, with restaurants offering Canadian, Italian, Bavarian, Japanese, and even health-conscious meals. As well as a wide choice of restaurants, the hotel offers a selection of places to have a quiet drink with pubs and bars and lounges. The Banff Springs Hotel sits at 405 Spray Avenue, near the southern boundary of Banff, a resort town within Banff National Park. The hotel property is bounded by roadways and natural waterways. Two roadways bound the hotel to the north, Bow River Avenue and Rundle River Avenue, while Spray Avenue bounds the hotel from the west. And to the east, the hotel property is bounded by the Spray River. The river serves as a tributary for the Bow River, a waterway north of the hotel property, and the hotel property sits near the confluence of the two rivers. The town of Banff is located within the Rocky Mountains mountain range, situated 1,414 meters or 4,639 feet above sea level. The community itself is built around Tunnel Mountain. The hotel property looks over across the valley towards Mount Rundle. Other mountain peaks located near the hotel include Cascade Mountain, Mount Norquay, Stony Squaw Mountain, and Sulphur Mountain, given its location within the national park. The hotel is located near a number of attractions and natural landmarks. North of the hotel, on the Bow River, lies Bow Falls. The Banff Upper Hot Springs is a commercially developed hot spring located south of the hotel. A National Historic Site of Canada, the Fairmont Banff Springs has been a shining example of Canadian hospitality from its inception. William Cornelius Van Horn, the general manager of the Canadian Pacific Railway, first considered constructing a grand hotel in the Canadian Rockies, and several employees of his railroad stumbled across several mineral springs in 1883. Noticing a great opportunity to facilitate travel along the Canadian Pacific Railway, Van Horn immediately set about constructing a brilliant Grand Dame that would be one of the world's most luxurious. As such, he commissioned blueprints for an impressive hotel that would be situated at the convergence of the Bow and Spray Rivers. Architect Bruce Price led the design team, who relied upon chateau-esque style architecture as the source of his inspiration. Construction commenced in 1886 and concluded some 2 years later. As soon as it debuted as the Banff Springs Hotel in 1886, it rapidly became one of the top 3 mountain resorts in North America. The original building was shaped as an H and included an octagonal center hall with an additional wing extending towards the Bow River. The building was clad in shingles with stone accents. Tiered verandas were situated at the end of each wing. The 1888 structure cost $250,000, and a mistake made by the builder changed the intended orientation of the building, turning its back on the mountain vista. This building included more than 100 bedrooms, centered on a 5-story octagonal rotunda. An addition in 1902 expanded and renovated the building, adding more than 200 rooms. By 1906, plans were advanced for a complete overhaul of the Banff Springs Hotel building, proposing a replacement of much of the original structure. Walter Painter, chief architect for Canadian Pacific Railway, designed an 11-story central tower in concrete and stone flanked by 2 wings. This time, however, oriented to the dramatic view. The so-called, quote, Painter's Tower was completed in 1914 at the cost of $2 million, with 300 guest rooms, and for some time became the tallest building in Canada. Construction of new wings was delayed by World War I, and the surviving Price wings continued in service. The hotel was named for William Davidson, who had grown up in Moray, close to Banff, Scotland, and was the first European settler in that area of Canada. The name borne by the Canadian city and the national park is derived from his native country. Halfway up the internal staircase closest to the Bow Falls, a painting of Davidson feeling trees on the Miramichi River during colonial times can be found. The painting of the Pioneer is by the war artist Cyrus Cuneo, who executed a series of paintings for the Canadian Pacific Railway. Further renovations, designed by architect John W. Orrock, who continued in style originated by Painter, significantly expanded the Painter Tower, altering its roofline and adding his substantial additions. In 1926, while work was proceeding on the new wings, a fire destroyed the remainder of the original building designed by Price. The structure was rebuilt larger and in its present appearance commencing in 1928. At its time, the hotel rarely saw a year without some form of addition or improvement. Throughout the 1920s and 30s, the hotel was able to combine day-to-day hotel life with the concept of luxurious hotel living. The Depression played a part in the golden era, as an unsure future forced people to examine the present, and their reasoning led them to live as fully as possible in an immediate sense. The hotel managed well in maintaining its ambience of sophisticated respectability. It was a time of stylish attire, tasteful entertainment, and redefined relations. The 1930s were also a high time for promotion, and the hotel saw growth in members of high society, including heads of state and actors visiting the hotel for photo opportunities in order to promote the persona or place needing exposure. The likes of King George and Queen Elizabeth, Marilyn Monroe, Princess Margaret, Prime Minister Mackenzie, and even Winston Churchill visited the hotel. Benny Goodman was influential in Banff obtaining a landing strip, as he wanted to stay at the hotel but could only do so if there was an area to land his plane. Stanley Thompson, a world-recognized golf course designer, was selected to construct the world's greatest mountain golf course. The Banff Springs shut down in 1942 as a result of the scarcity in labor brought on by World War II. It would not reopen until the war ended in 1945. Though it took most of the 1950s and 1960s to reclaim its former status as one of the greatest resort getaways in North Americas, the war had not completely ruined the hotel's charm. Significant changes to the hotel, which adapted it to the economics of the era, provided it with new life. A pivotal point came in the 1970s, as this was when the Banff Springs Hotel began to stay open year-round, offering guests a bevy of new winter activities. More renovations and expansions were done a decade later, providing guests with the most cutting-edge accommodations and amenities of the time. The 1980s brought expansion and renovation back to the hotel, growing well over 800 rooms, the hotel entered a phase of renovation and renewal. Beginning in 1985, the hotel entered into a two-phase project that would see the site staff housing completed in 1986 and newly structured manor wing incorporating 245 new guest rooms, which was later finished in 1987. The developed manor wing was opened to help accommodate the expected overflow of visitors to the region stemming from the 1988 Winter Olympics hosted by Calgary. At the same time, the hotel added 9 extra playing holes to its internationally renowned Stanley Thompson Golf Course. The 1990s welcomed the addition of Ted Kissane, who arrived with a new vision of luxury for the, quote, castle in the Rockies. The year 1991 saw the hotel once again show its adaptability by opening the Banff Springs Conference Center. The state-of-the-art center was completed at a cost of $25 million and provided the hotel with an additional avenue of revenue. The following year, the Banff Springs Hotel was declared a National Historic Site by the Government of Canada. In 1995, the hotel opens the $12 million state-of-the-art luxury Solace Spa. 1997 saw the hotel modernize once again, renovating and converting the manor wing, scaling down the room count from 848 to 770. The same year, $4.5 million was spent to overhaul the golf course, and in 1999, $75 million in restoration and expansion of the hotel to reposition Banff Springs as one of the world's leading hotels. Originally a Canadian Pacific hotel, the Banff Springs became a Fairmont hotel in the fall of 1999. Today, under the leadership of Regional Vice President and General Manager David Roberts, the Fairmont Banff Springs continues to deliver the service and excellence expected while still exhibiting the growth and adaptability that has been so common in the history of the hotel. With renovation projects including the Rundle Lounge, the Walled House, the introduction of Fairmont Gold in 2008, the legacy of luxurious surroundings amongst a rugged landscape continue to take shape within the walls of this grand castle, providing guests and visitors with an unparalleled attention to quality and service. The hotel meets the demands of everyone, from the casual tourist to business visitors and prominent members of society, just as it did 125 years ago. Throughout history, there hasn't really been a shortage of stories to go along with the hotel, like the story of the secret room that states during construction of the original wooden hotel, there was a significant error from the contractor. A room was built with no windows or doors, which wasn't even shared with the hotel owner. The room was only discovered after the fire of 1926. Since then, apparitions are often seen roaming the halls outside of this room. There's the story of room 873. This room was reportedly the scene of a tragic murder, and guests have reported seeing apparitions outside this room, possibly members of a family who were reported to have been murdered here. One of the most famous stories at the hotel is that of the burning bride. Stories suggest a woman dressed in her wedding gown lost her life on the staircase. And many people have reported seeing her ghost in a full wedding gown, often dancing in the ballroom. There's also the story of the bellman, Sean McCauley. He was a bellman at the hotel in the 1960s and 1970s. There are more stories of random sightings and apparitions and ghosts alike. 125 years of what I have read as murder, suicides, tragic accidents have all happened here. And while the hotel is indeed the, quote, castle in the Rockies, for some unfortunate guests, it is a final resting place that they will forever have to call home.
Dang. That place sounds fancy.
It is
super fancy.
very fancy. This is, we're talking about dignitaries, celebrities,
Yeah.
royalty. This wasn't, while they did have places for the average everyday people who could get a room, they definitely catered to the upper scale, like upper, high class society.
That's crazy. And how many like renovations to that place, or stages, I guess you could say?
I read a lot about this place, and from what I gathered is that there's never really a time that it's not under some kind of renovation. They are always trying to improve it. They are always trying to push it to the next level. For 125 plus years, actually, we wrote it as 125 years. I didn't want to do the math. I actually think it's closer to like 134 years. They are always on the cutting edge of being the most luxurious hotel in North America and possibly the world.
Wow.
So when you listen to this, like I implore you to look up pictures of the Banff Springs Hotel, and it looks like a castle set in the Canadian Rockies up by itself, and it is beautiful. Kudos to the man who said, yeah, we need to put this here.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, which I don't want to give away a whole lot, I wrote these two parts, and I wrote them a day apart from each other. So I wrote my part yesterday, and I just realized that something within there went with something from your story that wasn't in a book. It actually came from like a comment from somebody online. Yeah, I'm going to have to explain this at the end because I just linked these two together in the most scary way, the most freaky way. So I think we'll get to that when we get to that at the end. Now, I'm pretty sure you've got a bit of stuff to read about the spooky.
I sure do.
Oh, well, hit us with it, babe. And now, time for an ad break.
And now, back to our show. So this week's episode was brought to you by AvenueCalgary.com, TheLineup.com, GlobalTouristSpecialists.com, and HistoricHotels.org. The Banff Fairmont Hotel has more than a few residents who have checked in but have never checked out. With Halloween just around the corner, the more squeamish among you may decide to head for the hills to avoid a city crawling with dressed up ghouls and goblins. If ghosts also make you nervous, it's best to avoid the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. The Banff Springs Hotel is one of the highlights of traveling to Canada. The majestic hotel sits prominently in the Banff Valley and has welcomed guests from British royalty to Marilyn Monroe and everyone in between. It goes without saying that many things have occurred within those stately walls with that kind of history, yet a few guests seem to have lingered well beyond their time here. You might even say they have never checked out. This brings us to one of the most enduring mysteries in Canada. The most storied hotel seems to have a secret. That secret is room 873, which clearly exists, yet has long been covered over. So here's the question. Just what exactly happened at the Banff Springs Hotel in room 873, and why is it hidden? Whether you're into the paranormal or you're a little more skeptical, you can't deny there's something strange about the 8th floor at the Banff Springs. Every floor has a room ending in the number 73, with this exception. When you look at images of this area, you clearly see a room was built here and then bricked up and covered over in drywall. The story goes that a family of 3 checked into room 873 years ago. A father, a mother, and a little girl. One night, the man went crazy and murdered his 2 loved ones. It is presumed he took his own life after, though the fact seems to get glossed over most of the time. After the investigation into the crime, Management at the Banff Springs Hotel went on to refurbish the room and put it back in service. But it seems the mother and young daughter never really moved on. Guests who stay in room 873 are greeted with the terrifying sound of violent screams in the middle of the night. The startled guests would turn on the lights to find bloody handprints all over the walls that would disappear and reappear after housekeeping would wipe them off. And supposedly, though this is just a rumor, the chilling tale inspired Stephen King to write his horror masterpiece, The Shining, although we know he wrote the story at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. The Banff Springs Hotel tends to stay quiet about room 873 and the other apparitions that keep popping up as guests continue to frequent the Grand Dame of the Canadian Rockies. The Banff Spring Hotel representatives continually insist that the murder-suicide is merely a gory ghost story, that no such crime occurred, and that there is no blood-spattered room sealed behind a brick wall. Nevertheless, some enterprising guests have done their own detective work in an attempt to prove that room 873 did in fact exist. On the other floors, there are rooms that do indeed end in the number 73, except on the 8th floor. In room 873, where the baseboard would be cut as if there was a door there, and there is a corresponding light on the ceiling, if you knock along the walls between each room, you'll hear a sound. Tap, tap, tap. But knock where room 873 is alleged to be, and instead you'll hear a lighter, more hollow sound, as if behind that wall there would be the remnants of a room. Other guests claim that despite the hotel's best efforts, the ghosts of room 873 are still very much in residence at Banff Springs. Some have reported seeing the spirit of the younger daughter standing outside of her room as if she's lost. The doomed family of room 873 isn't the only unforeseen ghosts to haunt the illustrious hotel. An article from projectengineer.net by Bernie Roski can be found about his trip to the hotel. He decides to see the hotel for himself and does a little detective work of his own. Roski writes, quote,
"Now, I'm not a ghost story enthusiast, and this blog is most definitely not about ghosts, but the last part of the story caught my attention and got me going on an information hunt that I'm going to share. Of course, people have seen things that disappear, heard strange noises, and told stories that get bigger and become he said, she said tales whose original facts are otherwise unverifiable to average people. I get that. But is room 873 really barricaded?"
End quote. As he stayed at the hotel, he decided to look around for himself, and in the article, he shares with everyone the information he obtained from 3 sources: the concierge, the cleaning staff, and other evidence he obtained. His first stop was downstairs at the concierge. There's supposed to be the contact for questions about what to do and see. So he proceeded to ask about room 873. Roski goes on to write, the concierge's answer was clear. Ghost stories about 873 are a hoax, were the concierge's exact words. It was combined with room 875 during a renovation, resulting in room 875 being simply twice as big. This has happened in many other places in the hotel, which I confirmed later by walking into some of the other wings. He indicates within his story that this is clearly a well-trained response, and thus can probably be assumed as the hotel's official response. The concierge insisted that there are other ghost stories in the hotel, such as a bellman and the ghost bride, and even wanted to tell stories. They seemed very interested in promoting ghost stories in general, perhaps because they add to the mystique of the hotel, and that brings in paying customers. As to be expected as the story goes on, Bernie receives answers similar to these. In fact, he asks the cleaning staff if they would let him into room 875, and they respond with, quote,
"No. Sorry, we can't do that. There might be a guest in there right now."
end quote. He notes that this all happened about 9:30 a.m. on a Saturday, so it was not past checkout time yet. She clearly did not know if someone was staying in room 875, even though she was cleaning only a few doors down from it. So it's up to you, the listener. What do you think about room 873? Could it be haunted by the family butchered in a murder-suicide? It seems that not even the hotel employees know the answers. But it still doesn't stop visitors from seeing the apparitions of this family. The hotel, known locally as the Castle in the Rockies, holds within its walls over 125 years of history, and with it, many strange tales of ghosts. The story that continues to fascinate most is what happened to a young bride from a wealthy family who died on her wedding day at the hotel in the early 1930s. On the day she was married in the hotel's grand ballroom, the two newlyweds walked together down the hotel's marble staircase leading to the reception hall. It is said that she tripped falling down the long staircase when her shoe got caught on her dress and she fell, tragically breaking her neck on impact. However, another version of the story has a twist that many believe caused the fall. It is said that the reason for her fall was that her dress had brushed up against candles that illuminated the staircase, and her gown quickly burst into flames. When the bride struggled to put the flames out, she stumbled and fell over to her death down the marble stairs. Shortly after this awful incident took place, it was documented that the hotel guests, who never heard the story of the ghost bride, reported a woman seen in a white wedding dress walking down the stairs and disappearing into thin air. Other guests have also reported to hotel staff members that they have seen a woman wearing a dress that appeared to be on fire, standing on the staircase, and then abruptly disappearing, leaving a cold chill behind as she vanished. There have also been reports of a faint image at night of a bride seen dancing all alone in the ballroom in her wedding gown, sometimes with her dress engulfed in flames. Staff have reported hearing sobbing and other noises from the bridal suite when it is completely empty. The Banff Springs Hotel Ghost Bride is the most famous of the haunted hotel legends. In 2014, a collector coin and stamp were unveiled to commemorate this famous Banff Hotel haunted tale. Some of the tales connected to the hotel are nothing more than legend, as others appear to be true hauntings. Another legend is that of a mysterious ghostly bartender who, when guests have had too much to drink, the spirit encourages them to call it a night. Another, more fanciful legend is about a wandering bagpiper who was looking for what he lost.
His head.
A well-known friendly spirit that haunts the Banff is that of a former employee of the hotel, Sam McCauley, who was a bellman at the hotel for many years. He retired in the early 1970s. It is stated he told his peers that he, quote,
would return.
end quote. When he died in 1975, it seems he did precisely that. His ghost is most often seen on the hotel's 9th floor. Guests who have encountered him state he is both polite and helpful, but oddly, his uniform is very old-fashioned. There are claims he helps people with their luggage and has been known to unlock doors for guests who have become locked out. Witnesses say that when they tried to thank or even tip him, he would simply disappear. One famous tale involved 2 women who called upon the front desk for service after their room key would not work. When the regular bellhop did not respond for 15 minutes, the 2 women walked back to their guest room, defeated. But then, another hotel employee, matching Sam's description, approached their door. He then proceeded to unlock it for them. The bellhops staffing the front desk that night were stunned to learn that such a figure had manifested to help the 2 women. Other stories involve guests seeing Sam haunt his old office on the mezzanine floor, which is now currently a guest room. A few guests have even watched his ghostly facade materialize at various spots on the 6th, 7th, and 9th floors of the hotel. Searching around on the internet for stories from the hotel, I stumbled across a Reddit thread, r/Banff, and these are a few of the stories I was able to find. Story 1. My wife had a weird thing happen once. There's this one public washroom where you have to take up to the stairs. She was alone in the washroom, sitting down on the toilet, and heard the footsteps of another woman in heels coming up the stairs, opening the door, opening the stall door beside her, and getting in. She was mildly annoyed that they went to the stall right beside her, but she was just finishing up anyways. She gets up, goes out, and looks, and no one was in there with her. Not super terrifying, but a strange experience nonetheless. Story 2. I worked nights there and did various things. The popular stories are not true, but I believe there is activity there. I have seen some things that could not be explained. One night, I was polishing the brass railing that goes up the stairs to the men's washroom beside the Rundle Lounge. The washroom door opened a bit and then slammed. I thought it was my staff playing a joke, so myself and the security guard that did rounds with me went and looked, but no one was there. My team was at the other end of the Spanish Walk. It wasn't just me that saw this happen. No one would have been able to do this unless they were inside the washroom. We had a clear view of the door, and we were not more than 4 steps down from it. Story 3. Another night, I was in the 9th floor tower with the night FDM checking some rooms. We were both in a larger room doing a check when we heard kids laughing in the hall. It was at 1 a.m. We heard a faint knock on the door and laughing. FDM opens the door and there's no one there. The whole tower was blocked out for a special guest, so no one was on any of the floors. We had the elevator locked, so unless you had a manager key card, you were not getting up there. The fire exit you can't get into the hallways from. Doors lock on the inside, forcing you to go down to the main level. Other small things have happened, but those are the most memorable. Story 4. I was doing drywall work at the Fairmont, Banff about 12 years ago. We heard of several unexplained phenomena during our time there. Tales of a massive shadow wolf that can be found on the outskirts of the golf course during a full moon. Stories of a reaper-like spirit that rides his horse-drawn carriage through the old trails connecting with the hotel grounds. And we laughed at most of those and laughed them off like anyone would. But then we had several creepy events that happened to us during the month we stayed there at the Fairmont. Some were truly horrifying, and I don't care to revisit. Others, not so much. I will share one of these experiences with you. When replacing a wall on the 4th floor, my boss found an entire suite completely boarded off from the main hotel. Still decorated in what appeared to be 1950s decor. It was like it was frozen in time. It was a big, beautiful corner room overlooking the property. And apparently, there was something faintly written in blood or lipstick on the bathroom mirror. That's about all my boss shared with us. But we suspected the hotel was hiding something, as he seemed shook. When we looked at the room from the exterior of the hotel, the windows looked like they were frosted over or glazed with smoke like there had been a fire. The manager told him that the area of the hotel was shut down for a long time and to board the room back up like it was, so we did. Later that night, when we were walking home from the bar, we noticed there were lights on in that room. It looked like a party was happening. We could even hear music. We could only see the silhouettes from the outside, so we went to where the room should be inside the hotel on the 4th floor, just out of curiosity, to see if we could hear anything. And there is no door, just a long, dark, empty hallway, past where the other hotel rooms are. We could hear faint laughter and maybe like glasses chiming and clinking to some music. The song sounded like a song, Lavender Rose. I almost thought I was losing my mind at this moment. We knew this room was inaccessible as it was boarded off and there is no door. It was one of the creepiest experiences of my life. That was our last night at the Fairmont. I personally wouldn't stay in that hotel again. Some things are just better left untouched. All of these are just some of the stories that can be found online about the haunted Banff Springs Hotel. And for every story about paranormal activity, there tends to be 5 or 6 that say otherwise. Never have we covered a destination that has claims so extreme, yet there are so many claims that it's said are all just a hoax. Like most historic places, we will never know. So what do you think? Could Sam really be there to help you when nobody else shows up? What do you think about the ghost bride wandering aimlessly through the hotel, dress engulfed in flames, somberly dancing alone in the ballroom? And finally, do you believe in the apparitions of the family ruthlessly murdered by the father? The majority of the Canadians say they do believe in the spirits of the hotel. The castle in the Rockies, they call it. A dream destination for most, but for some, a destination they can never leave.
Woo! All I can really think of through the whole story is
His head.
His head. I know, it was just kind of like a random fact there.
There's like a lot of little stories, but I wanted to bring back from, all right, so I waited for this whole story to get done.
Okay, let's do it.
The last story that you read about the guy who they discovered a closed off room.
Yes.
Could this be the same room from my story that was put there that was never supposed to be there?
Oh. Because that was on the 4th floor, not the 8th floor like the other one.
Yes. So I'm curious if those 2 rooms are the same room.
Oh.
But it gave me, I don't know, it made me feel all weird because
Yeah.
I never put that together until we sat down.
I'd really like to know that. That'd be freaking cool.
So, I mean, the Banff Springs, Fairmont, Banff Springs. I'm never going to get these freaking hotels right. This is this has got to be the most haunted hotel in Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
this is, I think, up there, top number 1 on their, like we talked about in the last one, their tours that they do.
yes.
It has got to be, I believe, their absolute top stop.
But I'm going to say this. I don't know if it's something about Canada or the Fairmont line of hotels, but we had the same issue with Banff Springs that we had with the McDonald, and that is you're not going to find outside of that Reddit post much else other than the same few stories over and over.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'd be curious to find out why. It is what it is. I mean, there are some really cool stories from this hotel, which is why I was excited to really do this one, because the stories are pretty rad, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they're just bigger stories, I would say, than at the McDonald. Not that matters, but they're fun to read.
Yeah, they're fun to read, and it just gives it such a bigger presence.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and there's nothing online. There are videos. I'm not going to say that. There are videos of people going there and talking about it. I didn't watch a lot of them because I actually did find quite a bit of information. I didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no EVPs, nothing like that. I have seen pictures, though. There are pictures. I don't know if they're fake or real. I couldn't tell you, but they're cool. Right. They're cool pictures. Look like a lady in a wedding dress. So
wow.
Go online, check them out. You know, we can't tell you what to believe. We can just talk about it, and then you make your own decision. But I think we have to get to a certain point in the show where we're going to have to, really buckle down and ask ourselves a question of, is it real? Well, other Steve, I'm just not quite sure. So we're going to have to go and see how Megan feels about it.
I don't know what I think. Like we were talking about, these stories are definitely bigger than the Hotel McDonald. And I think yes. I think this place is haunted. I think I need to stop saying I think so much right now.
It's fine. We all want to know what you think.
I'm kind of mulling it over in my brain. I don't know. I do. I think this place is haunted. Now, is it specifically one thing or another? I mean, we never know in any place.
I don't think there's any way to really know.
There isn't, but I don't know.
I need you to think so you can think about what you think to tell
words,
me. Words,
Megan. Words. I think all the staff know all of these stories, and I want to know more. Was there records of anything? Were there police called out for these things that have happened? And
Canada is a different story where I don't know if they're unobtainable. I didn't see any records.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's like in America, you can just get records.
Right.
I don't know if it's like that in Canada. It's a different country.
I don't know. I have questions.
But we're also talking about the 1930s.
But yes, I do think it's haunted, mainly based off of the Reddit stories. Okay. I think those are kind of real people going in there and just telling their story about the creepy things that happened to them there. And I liked having those as a little touch on the end there. So what about you, Stephen? What do you think?
So I'm going to start off by saying this. I do think it's haunted. I don't think it's nearly as much as this stuff. Like, not even close. I believe there's activity of some kind there. I believe the bride story is fake. I believe the Bellman story is fake.
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe 873 is fake. I actually think all the major stories are made up. I think the hotel has spread those stories throughout the years to bring in clientele because, think about it, they're always spending this money and renovating. So what do they need to do? They need to bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
And what better place than a castaway castle in the Rockies where you can go have a 5-star experience, live like the upper class, and maybe have a paranormal experience. So there's all this history and lore on top of this luxurious hotel.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, this is a 134-year-old hotel. I do believe stuff is happening there because there are, like you said, I will agree with you on that. Some of these Reddit stories seem credible, but I'm going to say this. I read those stories. I read what came after those stories too. And that last one, I put that in there because it's a story from Reddit. He got tore up when he wrote that though. Like people kind of dogged on him and were just like calling him out. I'm not saying that makes it fake or anything.
Right.
But instantly people were like, we're going to call you out on this. We don't think it's real. And the original commenter never said anything. And there are a lot of people, I didn't write them all. There are a lot of small stories that have nothing to do with the bride, the bellman, or 873. Just lots of little things like the lady who went to the bathroom, somebody came in and nobody was there.
Right.
Stuff like that. Lots of those. But like you had read, for every one story that says there is, there's a lot that say there isn't. So it's really a toss-up. And without hardcore facts to back it up as far as the main stories, I don't know. Because I also found a contradicting story about Sam McCulley who says he is a real person. He was a real person. That's undisputed. He worked there. He was a bellman. But people say he left and just died and he lived his life. But he always told people he'd be back. So I don't know. I'm gonna give it like a 50. I'm gonna give it a 50.
Okay.
Because I do believe something's happening there. I just couldn't tell you how much. And if you're going all the way, then
gets a big old seal of approval.
So
yay.
Yeah, I guess I would totally go here. This place is. I thought the McDonald's looked great. The McDonald's looks like a shack compared to this place.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's straight up. The McDonald's.
Wow.
McDonald's looks like a hood house. It's like the McDonald's trap. It looks like a McDonald's next to a fine dining restaurant. You get my drift.
Wow.
I mean, the Banff Springs is freaking gorgeous, man. And it is literally set inside of like bowl of mountains with trees all around, and there's nothing. It's so cool.
Amazing.
So cool.
Ugh.
It was
It
really
would be a fabulous little getaway.
and I bet it's so nice this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. So
Way better than Florida.
isn't everything. But yeah, so that is the history and mystery behind the two-parter of the Fairmont hotels. And what I want to do is, like I said, there are going to be more episodes about the Fairmont, but we're probably going to come back to them after Halloween. I'd like to maybe after Halloween, when we do these extra episodes on other haunted Fairmonts, maybe we could try to come up with our own little theory on why the Fairmonts are all haunted.
Okay.
Because you got to remember, these hotels didn't start out as Fairmonts. They started out as other things.
Right.
So what is it about all the... Does Fairmont know something? Does the Fairmont name know something? And they're buying up haunted hotels? Or is this just a coincidence? I'm very... So listeners, let us know what you think. What is it about all these Fairmont hotels having activity? Like, why? Why? I'm curious.
What is happening?
And we'll see how your answer fares at the end of this series when we complete it. But we will be back with some more history and mystery next week. Everybody. Where can they reach us, babe?
They can find us on Instagram at forthebooze_podcast and on Facebook at forthebooze.
You can also find us over on Twitter at forthebooze and on YouTube at forthebooze. And don't forget, we would love your listener suggestions. We would love your stories equally or more. You know what I'm saying? Or just say hi. You can hit us up at forthebooze12@gmail.com. And stars, yes. We think you should leave us some ratings. I think it would be great. If not, we still love you, but we'd love you more if you did it. So don't forget to tell everybody, if you enjoy this show, we enjoy making it, and we would love to have more people to tell our stories to, I think.
Absolutely.
It'd be great, but I think this is going to take us out for this week. What do you think?
I think so too. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.